Justice League Unlimited was a treasure. It was the culmination of 6 animated series worth of storylines, romances, and notably, characters. People. Super people, to be exact. The show was overflowing with superheroes. Some we'd seen many times before, others we'd never seen at all, and some of them, well, even after 3 seasons and 39 episodes, we still didn't get to know past their costume. But even aside from JLU, there were a handful of heroes mentioned in other connected shows that we never saw at all or only heard about. So let's take a trip through the history of these cartoons and crack open the Watchtower Database to shed some light on these unseen heroes of the DC animated universe. Beast Boy and the Titans. If you're a big-time DCAU fan, you probably know that in the Static Shock episode Hard as Nails, we come to know of the existence of a team simply called the Titans. When Static asks where Robin is, Batman explains he's with this team, and while it wouldn't be the exact incarnation as the simultaneously airing cartoon Teen Titans, we can assume another member of this Titans team was Beast Boy, based on this line uttered by the infamous Bernie Rast.
I can't get Robin. Hey, what about the kid in the Titans? Yeah, the green one.
The Teen Titans first debuted as a group under that name in 1965's The Brave and the Bold number 60, with Beast Boy first appearing in Doom Patrol number 99 later that same year. In the comics, Garfield Logan lived with his genetic scientist parents in Africa before contracting a rare disease lethal to every animal species except the West African green monkey. To reverse the illness, his father administered an untested serum that transformed Garfield into this same monkey species for 24 hours, but after the treatment wore off, Garfield unintentionally retained the green pigment and developed the ability to morph himself into the form of any animal he chose. How convenient! He later joined the Doom Patrol as Beast Boy, and in 1982 adopted the new moniker Changeling. Since we plan to do a video later about the possible members of a DCAU Teen Titans, I won't go into much more detail here. But it's certainly disappointing that despite these name drops and references, we never got to see the team or the green one. Hardware. Another Static Shock episode points to the existence of the superhero Hardware, who, like Static, first appeared in Milestone Comics and was co-created by DCAU producers Dwayne McDuffie and Dennis Cohen. The episode Gear showcases series regular Richie Foley discovering he too possesses Bang Baby powers that just took forever to show up for some reason in the form of super heightened intellect. When deciding on an alter ego for his superheroic partnership with Static, the name Hardware is brought up as a possibility before being immediately dismissed.
How about Hardware?
I think somebody's using it.
This seems to imply that Hardware, though we never see him on screen or hear of him ever again, does exist in the DCAU somewhere. In the milestone title of the same name, Hardware is Curtis Metcalf, a genius teenage prodigy who was discovered by Edwin Alva, consistent nemesis of Static in the DCAU, and enrolled in the A Better Chance program for minority students. After several years, Curtis graduated and was gifted his own laboratory and funding by Alva, but the crooked businessman would not allow Curtis royalties for his own inventions, and so Curtis created the Hardware identity to expose Alva's villainous activities. Around the events of DC's Final Crisis, the Dakotaverse was absorbed into the main DC universe, after which Hardware appeared several times alongside more mainstream DC heroes. While it's unknown why many other Milestone heroes never appeared on Static Shock besides the titular character, perhaps it was to keep the spotlight on Static himself as he aged and learned heroics on his own and alongside his idols like Green Lantern or the Justice League. Plastic Man.
Plastic Man's down there. We don't need 2 stretchy guys.
And that's all we ever hear of him. Though Plastic Man is a very well-known DC character and a staple of the late 1990s Justice League comics, he never showed his stretchy face on Justice League Unlimited. However, he did appear in the tie-in comics series Batman Adventures Volume 2 as his pre-Plastic Man self, Eel O'Brien, a member of Gang Lord Black Mask's Enforcers. Timeline-wise, this comic runs concurrently with the Justice League cartoon, and though we never see his superhero origin story, it's safe to assume that O'Brien became Plastic Man sometime between the end of this comic's run and the first episode of JLU. In his original 1941 title, Eel O'Brien was a safecracker in a burglary ring that attempted to rob Crawford Chemical Works. In what city? I have no idea, couldn't find it anywhere. The internet is not very helpful with Plastic Man sometimes. When the group was discovered mid-heist, a night watchman shot Eel, whose wounds were doused with unknown chemicals from within the plant. Ditched by his cohorts, O'Brien escaped custody but fell unconscious in the streets, only to be awoken in the care of a monk who recognized O'Brien's capacity for good. This act of faith pushed O'Brien to reform, using his newfound elasticity and shape-changing abilities to become Plastic Man. The only official explanation, however vague, for Plastic Man's absence in JLU can be found in a quote from Dwayne McDuffie around the time of the series' debut, explaining, "No Plastic Man, I don't know what the issue is, I just heard we're not doing him." There were plans for a Plastic Man movie around this time to be directed by the Matrix's Wachowski siblings, and although it never came to be, a copyright tie-up could be the reason for Plastic Man's absence in the on-screen DCAU. Plastic Man did make a pseudo-DCAU physical appearance in the form of an action figure in the Justice League Unlimited line in the mid-2000s, with character design by Christopher Jones. Black Condor. In the recent animated movie Batman and Harley Quinn, have you heard of that one? I don't know, we haven't talked about it like at all. We should probably make some videos on that movie. Batman attempts to enlist the help of the expanded Justice League by sending out a distress call. Unfortunately for all involved, Booster Gold and a handful of lesser-known members are all that can respond. Included in Booster's list is the name Black Condor, the superhero name of 3 DC Comics characters throughout the years. The original Black Condor was Richard Grey Jr., who debuted in Crack Comics #1 in 1940. After his parents were killed by bandits, the infant Grey was rescued by a condor who raised him as his own. Wait, a bird? What? Oh my god. Eventually, Grey learned to fly by studying the bird's motions. Is this real? And after being rescued by a mountain hermit and taught English, Grey tracked down and killed the bandits responsible for his parents' deaths and adopted the pseudonym Black Condor. His origin was later retconned for his adaptation into DC Comics as exposure to a radioactive meteor. Wow. Original. And he became a member of Uncle Sam's Freedom Fighters. Sorry I'm hating on Black Condor so much. Comics are weird. 1992 saw the rebirth of Black Condor in Ryan Kendall, the only success in a long line of experimentations to create a human being with the ability to fly. And in 2006's Uncle Sam and the Freedom Fighters #3, John Trujillo debuted as the Black Condor, who was gifted his powers by an ancient Mayan goddess. Though it's unclear which version of Black Condor exists in the DCAU, we can deduce based on the producer's knack for adapting classic versions of characters that it may be the original, though the premiere of Batman the Animated Series, and thus the DC Animated Universe, in 1992 certainly coincides with the premiere of the Ryan Kendall version. John Trujillo didn't exist until several months after JLU went off the air, so it's likely it wouldn't be this one. But then again, Argus is canon now, so who knows? All we do know is Nightwing thinks he's meh. Triumph. Another unseen Justice League member mentioned by Booster Gold in the movie is William McIntyre, Triumph, who first appeared in Justice League America #91 in 1994. Able to manipulate the electromagnetic spectrum, DC Comics' Triumph developed his powers as a teenager and dedicated his life to becoming one of the world's greatest superheroes. During a convoluted time travel story, it was revealed that Triumph was in fact the original leader of the Justice League and responsible for their formation to combat an alien invasion. When it became clear the only way to defeat the aliens would be to sacrifice himself, Triumph used all his strength to attack the invaders' energy weapon and inadvertently tore open a time rift, which wiped him from ever having existed. Good job, buddy. While it's clear Triumph's name drop was simply fan service and he was perhaps never intended to be brought to the screen, it is intriguing to know he does in fact exist in the DCAU, though he is apparently a loser. I mean, in the JLA comics he did eventually come back as a villain, and as we all know, every villain is lemons, and lemons suck. Bloodwynd. The final Justice Leaguer we hear mentioned in Batman and Harley Quinn is Bloodwynd. His character history in the comics is somewhat of a mystery. He seemingly has no true identity and is in fact the descendant of a people who were the property of sadistic slave owner Jacob Whitney. The slaves performed a mystical ritual to create the Blood Gem, which they used to grant themselves great physical power and kill their master. The Blood Gem was passed down through generations until it reached the man who would become known as the superhero Bloodwynd. Bloodwynd's notable appearances in the comics include the famous Death of Superman arc, where he helped Superman attempt to stop Doomsday, and his induction into the Justice League in 1999 in order to stop the rampaging Amazo android. Though we know next to nothing about his DCAU counterpart, according to Nightwing, he's kind of a jerk. In the comics, he was eventually revealed to have been J'onn J'onzz in disguise all along, though I'd say J'onn probably has better things to do around this time, you know, like monitor duty. Wait, Green Lantern boosters on monitor duty. What is... Can you just show us these people, please? Gizmo. Gizmo was the name of my cat in elementary school. Oh, that's not the one we're talking about. On the Teen Titans cartoon, the villain Gizmo is a member of Hive and a frequent enemy of the Teenage Super Team along with his cohorts Jinx and Mammoth. Though it could simply be another techie sounding nickname, we nevertheless get another Titans related reference from the great Bernie Rast in the Static Shock episode Romeo in the Mix.
Yeah, how's it going, Gizmo?
My name is Gear.
Yeah, love the new name.
Though a teenager on Teen Titans, he's depicted in the comics as an adult with dwarfism, a diabolical inventor, Micron O'Genius. Yes, that's really his name. Creates new evil technological weapons on a regular basis, first challenging the new Teen Titans in 1981. Gizmo's cartoon version was voiced by Lauren Tom, an actress who has voiced many DCAU characters including Dana Tan, Dr. Light, and Green Lantern Kai-Ro. Barry Allen and Jay Garrick. Barry's a weird one, though we never get a true nod to the Silver Age Flash, aside from these couple guys who look and act suspiciously like him, and this one reference to Wally having an uncle. We do see a Kid Flash costume in the Flash Museum in Justice League Unlimited's Flash and Substance. In the comics, Wally West took up the identity of Kid Flash as Barry Allen's crime-fighting speedster partner, so the existence of Kid Flash would seem to point to the existence of Barry Allen in turn. On the other hand, we see Wally's origin briefly in the Justice League episode The Brave and the Bold, where he's struck by lightning in a chemical lab as an adult, so he seemingly never could have been Kid Flash, but it's fun to think about. Wait, so why is that costume in the museum? In the same episode, we see Jay Garrick's helmet in the museum as well. For the same reasons, it's not absurd to assume Jay was once the Flash, probably decades ago. In the same manner as Kyle Rayner receiving Abin Sur's power ring instead of the usual Hal Jordan, it's possible Wally took up the Flash mantle from Jay instead of Barry in the DCAU. Though that is all speculation. This universe drives me insane. Black Vulcan. Another blink and you'll miss it cameo of sorts occurs in the debut episode of Static Shock when Richie is helping Virgil figure out what his superhero costume should look like. Among the various versions he tries out, Virgil eventually emerges from his closet in a skin-tight spandex outfit visibly reminiscent of Super Friends' Black Vulcan. Due to disputes over the rights to the character, DC hero Black Lightning could not be used on the Hanna-Barbera cartoon, so Black Vulcan, a nearly identical African-American electricity-wielding superhero, was born. It only seems fitting that Static should attempt this look before settling on his iconic costume. Or second most iconic, maybe? I don't know. What's your favorite Static costume? Leave your comments in the comments below! Later in the JLU episode Ultimatum, we are introduced to the Cadmus-designed Ultimen team, who are all based on original characters from Super Friends, the character of Juice being modeled after Black Vulcan. Though Black Vulcan may not truly exist in the DCAU, visually, he almost did. Static's son. When Static is accidentally thrust 40 years forward in time in the episode Future Shock, he teams up with the second Batman, Terry McGinnis, to track down the terrorist group Cobra. During his short stakeout with Batman, Static is told of the whereabouts of many other futuristic superheroes.
The League's off near Alpha Centauri. Gear's on the other side of the world, and your son...
Son? I have a son?
Yeah, you do.
We never see him on screen, but the future grandson of Robert Hawkins would appear to have superpowers of his own, though whether they are electricity-based like his father's or not is unknown, or how he got them, or what he looks like, or anything at all. And finally, Starfire and Power Girl. We clumped these two together because of one reason. Well, okay, maybe two reasons. Four? Sorry, too crass for this channel. In everyone's favorite movie, Batman and Harley Quinn, the notable Super Babe sequence showcases many scantily clad waitress versions of DCAU superwomen, including variations on Starfire and Power Girl, the latter of whom even gets her own menu item.
Okay, we got one Power Girl jumbo combo.
Speaking strictly DCAU, Power Girl has never been known to exist, outside of her reinterpretation in JLU as the villainous Supergirl clone Galatea. In the comics, she essentially is Supergirl from another dimension, so that origin could still be intact for the DCAU, but we may never know. Power Girl also appeared in the JLU spin-off comics, which are questionably non-canon, and the definitely not canon Adventures in the DCU title in a relatively animated form. From a continuity perspective, her appearance is rather perplexing, but when you think about it, the DCAU has retroactively introduced various characters over the years after having already given us new spins on them. For instance, Hawkman after the new character Hrotalik. I've talked about this before. Go watch this video, and then every other video on the channel. That's your challenge for the day. This is also our first hint of Starfire in the DCAU, but we can easily justify her existence when recalling the Unseen Titans team, which we can guess already includes at least Robin and Beast Boy. Starfire's DC Comics counterpart comes from the distant alien planet of Tamaran, where a royal coup that threatened her life caused her to make an escape to Earth. There she met Robin and crew, forming the Teen Titans. We have to hope this DCAU Starfire is at least 18 by the Batman and Harley Quinn movie though, or else... Do they have the same ages on Tamaran as we do on Earth? Does she? Forget it. That's it for this video. Did we miss anybody? Let us know who you would have liked to see in the DCAU that never appeared. And don't forget we have new videos out on this channel every week, on Sunday and Thursday, and then Monday and Tuesday, back and forth forever, hopefully. Be sure to give our Patreon a look-see, as we've got some pretty great rewards for your assistance, and as always, consider subscribing so you don't miss out on other upcoming content from the Watchtower Database.